crown to the sky. If you a queen, hold your crown to the sky and ride or die. Rep your beauty to the fullest while you in your prime. Grind hard all day, no waste of time. Eye on the prize, head to the sky. Yeah, all my queens out there, keep your head up, put them crowns to the sky.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Women in Your Neighborhood. I am Allison Vaughn. This is my co-host Latoya Fernandez, and we are very excited to be diving right into this season. This season we're going a little bit different. We are going to be incorporating stories, real stories from real women. Today's show will be giving our own stories, but mixing it a little bit from the Word. None other than the Holy Bible. There are so many good stories in the Bible that we can resonate with today and every day. It really is the living Word. So without further ado, I will let Toya introduce herself to you all. Toya, tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you. Really happy to be here. First, giving honor to God, who is just the Savior and the keeper of my life, and who's brought us together in this journey. What a journey it's been.
Yeah.
I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, and
Represent for Hartford.
Yes. Listen, from the trenches, right, in that wilderness,
Yeah.
and I come from a household with a strong Black queen who really made a lot of sacrifices to make sure that me and my brothers were going to be okay. I had the opportunity to go to college and move to California all the way to the West Coast, and that's really where God started really elevating me as a leader. I grew up in the church, so I was a church girl. I was in church every Sunday, going to Sunday school. I was a praise dancer, sang in the choir, did everything that you could do in the church. But there was always something missing for me there. And I think what I later learned was that it was the relationship, that the church gave me the religion and the foundation and in terms of how to read the Bible and those things and some of the traditional parts of the practice, but it didn't really teach me how to build a personal, intimate relationship with the Father. And when I went to California, I became a classroom teacher. And that's really when God started doing this thing through me. And our relationship got really strong. I was given a group of students who struggling with reading, struggling with speaking English, and was kind of told like, yeah, we don't really have any curriculum for you. You can figure this out. And I'm telling you, it's like in those moments where it was like, it's me and you, God.
Yeah.
I'm here, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I've never taught before. But he had always given me a voice, and I was like, okay, I'm going to use it. And so I did. I ended up becoming a successful teacher, successful school leader, and then later a community leader and activist, really using the principles from the Word to lead people. The biggest thing that I feel that God has given me is this fleshy heart of just love and wanting to bring people together in love and wanting people to understand where others are coming from, and that spirit of service. One of the most profound stories that stick out to me in the Word is when Jesus, Mary is getting accused of these things and they're saying, we're going to stone her. We got to kill her. And Jesus just goes and he wraps his arms and he says, he who is without sin cast the first stone. And when I think about God in my life, I think about, that moment and how we really got to wrap our arms around each other and love each other through this stuff. And when we let people know that they can come back, from a bad mistake, that when, Jesus died on the cross for that reason, that we will make mistakes, but we can come back from them. We've been redeemed and we can turn our lives over, and as he redeems Mary in that moment, he tells her like, yeah, now you're walking with me. We're good now. And so I carry that spirit as a leader. And I can honestly say that I've been able to be successful. I've been abundant. I've planted seeds and they've harvested. And it's been because I've led with that spirit that God has put in me. Love people, tell them the truth, and make sure that my word is first and foremost. And so that's how we've been rocking it. Moved back home to Connecticut 3 years ago and reconnected with you, And so I definitely think, just for our viewers here, we go back. Our moms were close friends. Our fathers were best friends.
Yeah.
Mom's pregnant with us at the same
Yeah.
time. Celebrated our first few birthdays together, right? And then life does what it does. I
Yeah.
moved, then to come back home and to reconnect with you. So, I'm honored to be here with you and like want to hear a little bit more about your journey too, and excited to dive into the word.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's so crazy. Like you mentioned, we were childhood like friends. Okay.
Like,
Our
literally.
moms, let me tell you all out there, our moms, they were frugal. I will say frugal. And
Yeah.
they would make sure that our birthday parties were together. So we were like this all the time. And then you moved away.
Oh,
And I think we were
yes.
8 years old at the time. And it was a hard stop too.
Mm-hmm.
But in that time, I kind of grew up, did my own thing, and I was always a leader in my own space as well. More so behind the scenes. I wasn't as forward facing as you, but always being an alpha wherever I went, being the leader in the space that I was,
Yeah.
but feeling like my voice wasn't in a place where it could be heard. Especially in corporate America, especially being a Black woman, especially being a young Black woman.
Right.
There's, that glass ceiling that I always felt like I couldn't just reach over. So I think the Lord just was continuing to speak to me. I was going through all these trials, these tribulations, and through it all, God was carrying me. It's like the poem Footsteps, where
Yes.
the man is walking and he's like,
Mhm.
all of a sudden the steps went from 2 to 1, and I
Yeah.
really had that feeling. And God came over me, and I just knew that He was really like with me all the time. So much so where I knew I really had to give my life back to Him.
Yes.
And so did that, and ever since it's just been me and God on a walk, on a path, and my life is completely different now. Going from a place, I'm clocking in 9 to 5 to a situation now where, I'm an owner and I have folks who are under me,
Yes.
my own brick and mortar now in just a short period of time. So it's given me the confidence to know that anything that you put your mind to, as long as you have God by your side, it really is, and anything is possible. Anything is
That's
possible.
right.
There is nothing that is too big, as long as you walk the path. So with that being said, today we are going to really talk about the story of David. I know everybody's heard the story of David and Goliath. It's one of those ones, but we're really going to dig deep in there and incorporate things that were really in biblical times and how they transform into real life experiences, and how you can relate to how David was feeling way back when to now. So I think we should probably start with a little bit of word. So the story of David really starts in 1 Samuel. The particular story of David and Goliath, though, starts in the 17th chapter, and you can read it at home on your own. But for the purposes of today's talk, we're really just going to dive right in. And we're going to start probably around verse 26. So if you wouldn't mind, Toya, give us a little background before we get into verse 26, and then I think we can just hop right in.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, folks can read this on their own so you can get that context. But as we come into verse 26, where David is making the ask to pretty much fight Goliath, right? But before that, right, David was a shepherd.
Yeah.
And that's something that we don't talk about enough. But when we actually hear David in the book of Psalms later talking about the Lord is my shepherd, saying the Lord's Prayer, the Lord is my shepherd, I think it's so profound because he himself was a shepherd, and that's how he got his start. And so he was a shepherd. His whole situation in being called there wasn't to fight anyone. Right, he was bringing some supplies. He was, talking to Saul. Yeah, he was bringing supplies to his brothers. He was like kind of like an armor bearer. That was his vibe.
Yeah.
And I think about that kind of like today, almost like at a football game, like a water boy.
Yeah.
Right, like a water boy.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
like a water boy. You're here to bring the supplies, and I just have to say this. Sometimes we come into situations and we think we're just here for this, or we only fit in this box. And what I love about David is he did that. He did his job well, and he also felt like there was something bigger, right? But he didn't overstep first. Like he did what he was supposed to do, bringing the supplies, right? And I think I think about my experience as a teacher. Before I became a teacher, I was a crossing guard. And so I moved from crossing guard to lunch staff to teacher to dean of students to board of ed. Yeah. And I'm like, I had to be a crossing guard first. And David had to do that. And so he was doing that. But it really bothered him to see the fear that the Israelites had of the Philistines. Yeah. Because David was a good shepherd because of his relationship with God. Yep. He understood God was his shepherd. Yep. So he took that role serious, and he took his role serious, and he looked at them as limitless. Mm-hmm. And so when he saw that fear, it bothered him.
It really did bother him.
It bothered him. And so when we get to, there's backstory there, but when we get to 26, that's where he's like, all right, now I'm speaking on it. Like, now I got to say something.
I got to say something about what's going on up in here, because y'all got me messed up. Yeah. Okay? I was here to be the water boy, but I see what's going on. Right. And it's not working for me.
Right.
Okay?
I'm about to bring more than water. I'm bring some smoke. I got some smoke.
I got it all, baby. Yes. I'm here. So, all right. So let's hop right in. Chapter 17, 1 Samuel, verse 24. You want to read? You want me to?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
So start at, So, and all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were dreadfully afraid. And I just want to say here, we're talking about Goliath, the giant, okay? So they were afraid of Goliath, right? So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel. And it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel.
Okay, so let's just break that down, okay? The Philistines are here. They're here to take over. They have Goliath, who is, 9 feet tall or something like this. And they're like, which one of you can beat him, you're going to be rich. You can have the king's daughter. You can have all the riches. We're going to forgive all your taxes. Right. Baby. And please forgive my taxes. Student loans as well.
Tax exemption?
I can't wait.
I would have been like,
you know.
I'm about to fight too.
And so in this point in time, all these things have been offered on the table, and no one was willing to come forward. Nobody. No one. So now we fast forward and insert Waterboy. Okay, right here.
So my boy David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Like that right there.
Y'all gonna let him talk about God like this.
Right. Yeah. And we have our ways of dissing people, but David, like, I just hear his voice like, this uncircumcised Philistine, like, really?
Right. Now, mind you, David is coming from the shepherd. He's from the herd and all that. He's probably funky, dirty, hair nasty, okay? And he's talking to them like, I know y'all got to be crazy. And they're looking at David like, baby, you might want to sit this one out, you know?
Right, exactly.
Settle down.
Exactly.
Settle down.
Exactly.
And so you can, again, read more of this story in your own Bibles, but we're just going to shoot down to verse 31. And it says, now the words which David spoke were heard, and they reported them to Saul. And he sent for him. Then David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go out and fight this Philistine. Okay. So he's like, I'm ready to knock if you buck. Yeah. Okay. That part. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are a youth and this a man of war from his youth. So he was trying to tell David, listen, he's been in wars. Okay. You're a little boy. I don't think you want this type of action. Right. So David was really given all the advance notice, and David really was just like, but I know God though. Right. And I know who I am though. Right. So again, there's this, you could almost envision the conversation and the conflict going back and forth where, again, in everyday times, especially when we're trying to stand up for ourselves, and you're like, I can do this. And somebody on the other end is like, oh, you poor little flower. You know, I know you think you can, but you can't. You're like, but you don't know me though. Right. You don't know my experiences. Right. I'm not even from this place. Right. I'm from another place. Right. My experience speaks for me, but all you see is the exterior of me. Exactly. And especially as Black women, we oftentimes get that where it's, my dad likes to call it visual discrimination, where you see me, but you don't see me all the way. So David's really facing this, especially in this part of the Bible. And then we'll fast forward a little bit to verse 40. And this is where, again, I'm just going to try to dress it up, where they were like, okay, David, you know what? You said you want to go. We will give you this opportunity.
Yep.
God bless you. Because clearly nobody else wants to go.
Right.
So go ahead and hold it down. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where we are. So we'll shoot to verse 40.
Yeah, absolutely. So then he took off his staff. Then he took his, and actually I'm going to go back to 38 because this is so profound
Okay.
where Saul gets him ready for the war. He's like, let me give you your armor, right? And this is so funny because even when we go into situations, we tell people, oh, I just got this job, or I got this opportunity, or I'm an inaugural I'm the first in this role. And people from a flesh point will tell you all these things you need to do to prepare.
Yeah.
So right, Saul is like, I'm going to give you this good armor that's going to help you.
You're
right?
hired, and here's everything that you need to do the job.
Exactly. And so in verse 38, it says, so Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put a bronze helmet on his head, and he also clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. See, David hadn't tested them, but he tested God.
Amen.
See, he knew what result that was going to lead to. But I can't trust this man-made stuff.
Y'all got me in all this armor. It's heavy.
Right.
I can't walk. I can't move. No, no.
We know that stuff can end up faulty.
Yeah.
You know, manufacturing issue,
yeah.
whatever.
Man-made.
Right,
Man-made.
exactly.
Yeah,
so
no.
I can't trust that, right? Put on the whole armor of God.
Especially not for this Philistine that y'all said is 9 feet tall.
Big back. What?
No. No.
Listen, Goliath, the big one, not the little one, okay? So, for real. And so I just love it because when man says put on the whole armor of God, that's spiritual.
Amen.
And so then in 40 it says, then he took his staff in his hand and he chose for himself, and I love this, it makes me chuckle, 5 smooth stones from the brook. Like, he wanted us to know they were smooth. I made sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 smooth, nice little
all I need is 5,
stones
baby.
from the
That's it.
brook, right? And put them in the shepherd's bag. In a pouch which he had, his sling was in his hand. And notice he went back to his supplies. He was a shepherd. So he put the stones in his shepherd's bag, right? And so that preparation there. And he drew near the Philistine. So the Philistine came and began drawing near to David. And the man who bore the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was only a youth, ruddy and good looking. So the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of air and the beasts of the field. Right? Like that's just, he's like, I got you. I got something for you.
Yeah.
Right? And so then David said to the Philistine, you come to me with the sword, with the spear, and with the javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcass of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is God in Israel. Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. So it was. When the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, David hurried and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. Then David put his hand in the bag and took out a stone. He slung it, struck the Philistine in his forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him.
So with this word, there's so many layers to what you just read. However, when you are underneath the strength of the Lord, you could talk that talk and walk that walk.
Right.
Goliath, you talking all this smack and all
Right.
that. This is how I'm finna handle you, okay? I'm gonna tell you exactly what I got for you,
Right.
all right?
Be specific.
Yep, and while I'm talking, I got my little sling going, and 1, 2, 3, and you're gonna be done out of here because I come from a different place. my strength is from a different place. You wouldn't understand. You see me, you look at me, and you think I'm unserious, but I'm very serious with you. And now you're a dub.
That's it.
That's it. It's really that simple.
Right.
The strength of the Lord is more than anything that's man-made.
Yeah.
So I don't need all this other stuff that y'all got. Don't put that on me. No, nothing. Me and him.
Yeah.
With that, I don't need anything more.
Right.
I got 5 stones.
Right.
That's all I need.
Got 5 stones.
That's
I
it.
got him. And, you know, since I think about our journeys that we've been, you know, we're sharing tonight. And I think about all the times where I was called, God called me into communities to stand up against giants.
Yeah.
And I never felt afraid
Yeah.
because I always knew he was with me. But then being able to come on behalf of him. And that's the part is when we come on behalf of ourselves, we lose every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd say when I was a kid and I would get in fist fights with people and like, even if I won the fight, I still felt horrible after. And then there was all aftermath because I was doing that on behalf of me, my flesh, and how I was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, even opportunities I took in my career, anytime I took a role or I did something that wasn't what God called me to do, but would just advance me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't work. So when he says, I'm coming on behalf,
Yep. Yeah.
I'm coming with the strength.
And even those instances that you refer to, really, they might have been ordained by God because David said, listen, I've been fighting the bears, okay? All the wildebeest, all that stuff. I've been fighting them. God has prepared me for this day. I didn't even know this was preparation for this. I had no inclination that was going to get me ready for today, but God. But God, here I am. Opportunity presents itself. I didn't even ask to be here. Y'all brought me here to bring supplies. But my God shall supply all my needs.
Period.
Okay?
Period.
Wow.
You know, and and then no weapon formed against us shall prosper. And Goliath he said, you've got the javelin. You've got he named it. You've got all these things.
They will form.
You formed them.
He formed them. He formed them.
Didn't do nothing.
Listen, that to me is one of the great stories in the Bible that just is a story of strength, a story of triumph, a story of, you know, what can be if you have faith, because not once did David ever question himself. Or question what God was able to do for him. And really even showed others their own faith that they couldn't even see. Right. So there's so many instances where we need to be a David, even when you might feel like, is this for me? Yeah, it's for you. Yeah. And God will let you know. You'll feel it. Yes. So it's just getting over our own selves and tapping into another higher strength.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Getting rid of that imposter syndrome. Like feeling like I don't belong here. I can't do. No. Listen, God will never put you in this situation that's more than you can bear. And you're not an imposter. Anywhere that he's called you to be and you belong, you can't be an imposter there. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, it all belongs to God. And really, all of it, everything, the air, the house, your car, it really is all God's. And he will give you everything. And even when you feel like it might not be enough, it's just a little bit, it's more than enough. Yes. David killed him on the first stone. He didn't even need all the rest.
He got 5 small ones. He had 5 in the clip. But he only needed 1.
He only needed
one
that.
Shot, one kill.
That's it,
all
baby.
I need is 1 stone.
You're a rat. You're
like,
finished.
That's it.
You're finished.
Right.
Okay, so.
That's it.
Yeah,
I
and
love
may the Lord add an extra blessing to the reading of the word. And we are very, very excited to see you next episode. More to come.
Thank you.
Nick Augustino right here at the East Side Restaurant. We always have the complete full dinner menu. Knockwurst, bratwurst, sauerbraten, potato pancakes, red cabbage, rice pudding, cream pies, all the desserts that Germany had to offer. I always do something different. Yes, I do. I brought seafood to the beer garden at the East Side Restaurant. East Side Restaurant, your German destination restaurant in Connecticut. Tiki-taka, hoy, hoy, hoy!